Hey everybody, welcome to episode 9. I hope you enjoyed last week's episode where we walked through the Dolce & Gabbana exhibit in Paris. I'm super excited about today because we are launching our new series of episodes that will be quarterly called Wayne's Wanderlist. So with Wayne's Wanderlist, I'm going to share travel experiences and how they motivate me as a host, and maybe give you some ideas about when you're traveling, you can find inspiration. So our first episode is starting with my recent trip to Paris. When I travel, I always think to myself, one of the things I love the most is sharing my travel experiences with friends and family. So I always have an idea of maybe having a dinner, having a party, having some sort of occasion after the trip that I can share with my guests. So a lot of times the inspiration for what I'm looking for comes from the idea of doing that. And then also I just find other kind of random things that I discover in the experience that motivate me. So let's unpack my trip to Paris. All right, so lots of goodies to share here. One of the first things I want to share is this was actually the day that I went to the Louvre Museum. So as you exit the Louvre, you come out onto Rue de Rivoli, one of the main boulevards right there by the Louvre. And of course, it's very touristic. You know, there's so many people that go to the Louvre, lots of tourists there. But I found these awesome postcards, and I love them because they've got this real vintage illustrative style to them. And I bought them in two different styles. I got one that has Notre Dame, and I have one that has the Eiffel Tower. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put these together and I'm going to make the invitations to my dinner party featuring all the things that I discovered this trip in Paris. So this will be the front, and then it'll open like this to have the information, and then this will be on the back. So I'm gonna do my party invitations using these postcards. One of the most iconic places in Paris is La Durée. So La Durée is famous for their macarons. They're a bakery, they're a restaurant, but the macarons are what they are absolutely famous for. So actually on the day that I was going to the Dolce & Gabbana exhibit, we were walking on the Champs-Élysées. So we were between the Arc de Triomphe and the exhibit for Dolce & Gabbana, and the La Durée store is on the Champs-Élysées in that area. So we stopped in. It was so amazing just to be in that space. For me, it's one of the most iconic things to do in Paris because it just feels so Parisian. Well, I did buy a lot of goodies that I brought home for friends, but those have all been given away. But I did take some napkins from La Durée, which I love. And when I have my party, as you know, we start every gathering with a warm welcome. So I'm actually going to order some macarons from La Durée online, and then I am going to present them to my guests with the napkins that I brought from the actual La Durée with a glass of champagne. So that's going to be my warm welcome at my dinner party. One of the notable meals that I had, and this is going to be kind of inspiring maybe my direction for the dinner, was at this amazing restaurant called Le Clown Bar. One of the things that I loved about being in this space is it had this great like Belle Epoque design, so it was very historic. The service was on point, and of course the food was incredible. So in that dinner, I had one of their featured dishes, which is a pigeon and foie gras pie. So, you know, when in Paris, eat as the Parisians do. And it was interesting and amazing. It was maybe the first time I've had pigeon. And so one thing I noticed about that particular dish is they don't cook their poultry quite as much as we cook our poultry. So it wasn't quite as well done as we might be used to, but I was very inspired. So I'm actually going to replicate that dish, but I think instead of using pigeon, I may try chicken myself. But I love the idea of the protein with the foie gras and then encased in a crust. So that was super exciting from Le Clown Bar. And then also, before I talk about this, one of the most iconic retail elements in Paris is the Galeries Lafayette. So this was my 4th trip to Paris and my first time to Galeries Lafayette. So it reminded me a lot of like Harrods in London. So I hope there's not some sort of like Galeries Lafayette Harrods rivalry out there by me mentioning that, but it just had that same classic like retail experience, luxury retail experience, every detail taken care of, and it was just beautiful. But with Galeries Lafayette, there are multiple buildings that house different departments. And my favorite, of course, was like the food and housewares building. So when I was there, I picked up some foie gras, so I'm excited to use this in creating that dish that I was telling you about from Le Clown Bar. And then also, I have never prepared escargot myself, and so they had this great little kit to make escargot. So it comes with the canned escargot. It's got all the shells that you put them into for baking. So it's kind of a one-stop shop on creating escargot. So I thought as a beginner, this would be a great way to kind of dip my toe in the water. So that was that. Morels. I had to get some morels mushrooms. You know, these are kind of hard to come by. I haven't found these in a lot of local shops here in El Paso where I'm at. I know you can get them online, but I thought, why not get these in Paris and have some French, just exceptional mushrooms to use for cooking. So these also came from Galeries Lafayette. I am so excited about this. So also from Galeries Lafayette, I found this amazing French cotton fabric. Let me open it one more. I want you to see that gold stripe. I love that it has this gold stripe and it's in these gray tones. So this is actually a French cotton that I'm gonna use to do either like a table runner, maybe a full tablecloth. I literally got the last 1.5 meters that they had available. So I was thrilled to get this. And it's got kind of a plasticine coating on it. So it is cotton, but it feels almost like one of those like picnic tablecloths. So you can just wipe it off. And the woman was so great to explain, you know, you can't really launder it, but because of the coating, you can wipe it off and it'll last, you know, as long as you take care of it, it'll last for as long as you want. So I found the fabric and then I discovered that they had matching napkins. So here's my napkin story. You know, one of my biggest pet peeves for events, dining events, if you ever go to a wedding or a reception or something like that, and they have like a silky satin event napkin, that's like the worst. In my opinion, all those are good for is transferring whatever is on your mouth straight to your lap to get on your pants or your dress, and then the napkin falls to the floor. So when I'm doing napkins for an event, especially my own in my home, it's gonna be either cotton or linen. So I was thrilled to find these that match the fabric. They were actually 20 euros a piece, which is like $22 each. And I wanted to get a minimum of 6 because that's what fits comfortably at my table. That was a little spendy for me, even, you know, the idea of 22 bucks a napkin, but they were on sale for 40% off. So I thought, since they're on sale and since I'm getting the fabric to do the tablecloth, I gotta get the napkins. So I got these napkins also. Then went to a great little candle store in the same area and I picked up these kind of spiral tapers and I thought they would kind of pull the gold out of the tablecloth, so I was thrilled to get those. So then, I'm so excited to share this. We went to the Les Puces flea market, which is one of the oldest flea markets and I believe supposedly the biggest, maybe in the world, but just full of like antiquities and knickknacks and furniture and paintings and artwork and all of those things. So I picked up a couple of really great little, just kind of special things to me. So I got this great little antique trinket box with a Renoir painting on the top. Who doesn't need a trinket box, right? But what I'm really excited about is what's inside. Let me show you. So there's this amazing notions store called Ultramod. It's in the same area as Galeries Lafayette. And I am so excited about what I got there. This is a piece of black and white elastic, so I got a meter, and guess what I'm gonna make out of this? You probably already know, napkin rings. So I'm going to use this as my napkin ring band. So we've got this kind of grayscale with the napkins, and we're gonna do this kind of cream and black as the napkin ring. But look at these. I got these amazing vintage black and white buttons, and these are made out of bone and mother of pearl, and I fell in love with these. These were €8 a piece, so they were spendy. Like, I spent over $9 a piece on a button, but I only needed 6, and I'm going to use them with the black and white elastic to create my napkin rings that go for the dinner. So super excited about that. And then the other thing that I got, so I already collect these, but these are, some people say salt cellars, some people say salt dips, but these are little glass containers that you use to put salt in to set on the table. I love these. Also, salt is my biggest vice, but anyway, I love having these, and these are kind of like, if you remember the episode when we were talking about setting up the home bar, and I mentioned how my decanters are kind of generational to my family, so are salt cellars. So I'm kind of a 3rd generation collector. I love these. I also love using these because it's like a surprise. People don't expect these at the dinner table. So I got 6 of these little salt cellars, and then I also got the tiny little mother of pearl spoons that go with them. So those are super fun to have at the table because they're unexpected, and people enjoy it when you put that kind of thought and detail into preparing an experience for them. So there's that. Let's see what else we have. Oh, okay, I had to splurge. So I had to stop into the MFK and buy myself a fragrance because all hosts need to smell good. So this was a splurge, but I was happy to do that. So on the day that I went to the Pinal collection, incredible museum, as I was walking, we came across a really small market, and at that market, I just got some general French spices. So I don't have a purpose for these, but I wanted to get them. There's a variety. So, you know, we have a vegetable seasoning, we have an herb butter seasoning, and we have a chicken seasoning. So these are all French ingredients. So just fun to have those in the pantry for when I get inspired to use them. I also picked up some truffle salt at the same place. Again, great to have this just for daily use or special occasions. I might have borrowed something from the breakfast buffet at my hotel in Paris, but I couldn't help it. They had these adorable little strawberry jams at the table every morning, and I love it. So on the top, it's supposed to be a strawberry, but I'm from a border town next to Mexico, so for me, it's like a sacred heart. It's like a flaming sacred heart, so that's what I thought of every time I looked at these. But I might have snagged a couple and brought them home just to use. These will be great for, like, when I have guests, this would be perfect to put out on the coffee bar with pastries. So that was my motivation for the little jams. I found this set of chocolates, and each one has kind of this like pop art label on it. So I love that it was in this box because it made it easy to transport. But at my dinner, you know, we have, in addition to our warm welcome, we do our magic moments and our fond farewells. I'm gonna do a little takeaway bag for all of my guests, and I'm gonna put some of these chocolates in each of those bags. So that's what these were for. And then the last couple of things, this was the little bag that my lunch came in on Air France, and I loved, there was like 8 things in this little bag. And I love the idea of using something like this for a picnic. So you kind of create like an all-in-one package, like for your friends or guests on the picnic. So I brought this home so I can tear it apart and make a pattern to make a little bag like this. And I was just super inspired at the efficiency of how they did it. So that came home with me also. And then the last thing, in the gift shop at the Louvre, I picked up Hemingway's A Movable Feast. This has nothing to do with hosting, but it was a great read on the airplane home. And for anyone who's interested in Paris, this is Paris through Hemingway's eyes in the 20s. And really, it makes you realize somebody who has experienced Paris or spent time in Paris, no matter what you do, you're gonna take it away with you and it'll be with you always. So that's where this came from. I almost forgot maybe my most treasured bring back from this trip, which was French butter. It was in the freezer, so when I put the box together to share all this with you all, I forgot to bring the butter out. But I brought these amazing butters. I have a classic and a salted. I have a black truffle. I have an herb butter, and then I have a delicious vanilla bourbon butter. So these are my little treasures that I brought back. People ask me, how did you bring back butter on a trip like that? Well, I bought it on the last day of the trip, and the store that I bought it in vacuum sealed it for me. So I took it straight back to the hotel, put it in the freezer at the hotel, and then the next day, the last thing I did was get the butter and put it in my suitcase. And we all know when suitcases are checked and fly, they're cold, so the butter made it home just fine. But like I said, I forgot it in the freezer and I really wanted to share that with you. So I hope you've enjoyed seeing kind of how my brain works as a host when I travel, looking for ideas, getting inspirations, and finding things that I can bring home to my guests. Our manifesto moment for today is, we believe that whimsy and wonder are the secret ingredients to unforgettable gatherings. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And thanks again for being here. I hope you've enjoyed this, and we'll see you next week.